Well, whatever you said on Saturday at half-time did the trick, didn't it?
It's a fine. Sorry, whoever that was.
Wow. That's why I knew it was coming.
In-house fine.
I phoned him, so it's all right.
They get double what you get.
I'll change the question now, yeah. It worked. Whatever you said to them at half-time on Saturday gave you a second-half performance that you must have been really pleased with.
Yeah, we were not a million miles off, but we were below our standards generally. First half, and Watford the better side. But then second half they did come out and perform a lot stronger and a lot better. And we got our awards in the end. I said then, I didn't necessarily think it was a 3-0 performance, but we'd take it gladly. Very effective from set pieces once again, which is an important part of the game. Not only what we try and do, but the game in general. And more effective in general play and looked a lot more solid. So pleased overall.
How do you reflect on kind of the table after 13 games? It doesn't tell many lies. But
well, it's better than 13 games last season. That's a big start.
It's double points.
Yeah, that's a big change in last season. We're not really, first I've always been the end of the season league table. That's the one I've always, really wanted to see or look forward to seeing sometimes, usually. But no, I've never been one for staring at the league table. We focus the players on the next challenge, which obviously is Palace in this case, and we've stuck to that really, and it's served us well. Staying open-minded about the challenge in front of us, and concentrating on the next most important game, which comes across quickly, which is this weekend. Obviously.
Are you watching them grow as a group? Because you see they're getting more.
Yeah, I mentioned from last year. It's not all the good stuff that helps you grow. Of course, that's part of it, but sometimes the challenges. And I mentioned last season when we were having a tough period, I was still incredibly proud of the players and what they do and what they give us. And equally how they learn and how they improve for themselves, because, coaching, managing, whichever you wish to use, it's obviously an important part of it, but also the self-learning, that's a massive part of it. Players self-learning, players picking up things that they can add to their game, on the pitch, obviously, but off the pitch as well. Diet, fitness, all these things, psychology, of course. And it's good to see that, when players are taking it on, not just you and your staff. And I think we've got that here. I think there's a healthy balance between what we guide them to, what we think is important, and what they take on for themselves.
And back-to-back clean sheets the first time in a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, we've often people talk about us being more defensive. We don't plan to be. Often you're forced into that defensive role. But when we have to defend, I think generally over my years here we had a tough time last season, early season. Everyone knows that defensively. Well, in both ends of the pitch, which is not a good mix. This season we've found a bit more balance to that. Been effective going forwards and a couple of blips, but pretty resolute in the defensive side of things.
And Nick made some good saves on Saturday. I mean, the defence played well. Is he growing as a keeper in the sense that being part of the England setup is helping him mature? I mean,
I must say, by his standards, I think he made savable saves. Apart from the one at the end from Delafeu, I thought he made a marvellous save. People didn't even see it, I don't think, but he got a little fingertip on the end of it, and that was a great save. But generally, I'm more impressed by his all-round goalkeeping role. I think he's very, very strong taking crosses and willing to take crosses, and he's beginning to do all the basic stuff really, really well. Cleaner hands and footwork, and I think there's a lot more to his game than just making saves. Which, don't get me wrong, that's a massive part of it. But I think the other details he's shown that he's continued to improve.
It's funny because people, when they talk about Burnley, and I was saying this to someone else, they talk about your strikers, they talk about your keepers, they talk about your centre backs. They don't talk about the two men in the middle of the park.
I mentioned last week they've done ever so well.
Yeah, I'm trying to say in a
they've done ever so well, and they've taken on the responsibility, which people forget, of playing 2v3. Virtually, not everyone, but a lot of teams in the Premier League play with three midfield players, a version of it, the one and the two and the one, whichever way you look at it. And they often, it's a tough task in there, but they take it on. As do the other midfield players here, I must say. Jeff's played in there a lot, and Drinky's getting fit now, so we'll see. But he's played in there obviously previously for Leicester particularly. And when you're often playing 2v3, you still got the support of your centre forward dropping into the sort of back of their midfield. But often you are 2v3, and that's a tough job. But it's the mentality to take it on, and them two certainly do take it on.
And so you're missing Ashley. Is he one of the most underrated midfielders? He's played every game.
No, I think there's a number of players. I think from a manager's point of view, it's always different. The outside can rate, underrate, not rate sometimes players, but when you work with them, you see them in a whole different light. And I know the respect that them players amongst all of our players, but in the group, I know the respect they get here. and they certainly get that from me.
And Danny Drinkwater an option then perhaps this weekend?
Yeah, well, he's getting fitter. He's had a number of reserve games, which was important because he hasn't played that much football. His sharpness is improving, so he's certainly in the sort of mix of thinking. He was last week as well. He travelled with us. So, yeah, I mean, he'll certainly come into thinking.
In terms of Crystal Palace, they come off the back of a run of 3 defeats, but against, I think, Leicester, Chelsea and Liverpool, so no disgrace in that.
No, they're a good side. I mean, we know they're effective on the counter. We know, they can absorb when they have to. And organised, of course. Roy's teams always are, and Ray Lewington, I work with at Watford, proper football men, as they say. And there's no reason to think it's going to be anything other than a tough game. They all are. We're really pleased it's a game that we come back off that big result away to come back home, of course. But we know we've got to perform.
And how pleased are you getting key players on contracts that means they're staying when there's some kind of longevity in terms of your planning?
Yeah, well, I've said a number of times that it's not always easy for us to work on the outside of our own market, therefore going out and getting players, because there's a lot of financial control here, and it's difficult sometimes with a rising market. Inside of our camp, then we look to have open dialogue with the players, with the agents involved, to try and make sure players are settled, to try and make sure they're happy with what they're getting, in order to have that balance to go and perform. And we've tried to do that well here. And, another 3 players recently have agreed to stay. And there's still ongoing negotiations and conversations with other players and other agents here.
But stability within a kind of Premier League environment where it seems more unstable than ever, with people talking about managers and...
Well, I think it's difficult. Football's a difficult business now. It's a very instant business. And there's only a few of us who have been around for a while at individual clubs. And, building, people talk about managers going in, can they build this, can they... You need time to build. It's it's not all plain sailing, that's for sure. And some managers get a chance to build, some don't. It's just the way it is.
And when you say time, you know all the data and things. Is it 2 or 3 windows? Is it 2 years? Is it 1 season, 18 months?
I think the truth of it is that everyone, or not everyone, but often you see a manager go into a club. There'll be statements or messages go out that they'll be given this amount of time, but you don't win enough games, and guess what? That changes rapidly. Whatever way you look at it. Brands, styles, everything considered, you've got to win. Or you've got to win enough. You've got to win enough that's deemed enough. Our winning in the Premier League is slightly different to a Man City or Liverpool. It's another fine. There's fines all over the place there. Oh, it would be you, wouldn't it? Is that you? Come on, you. Crying out loud. See what we're trying to deal with here, James? See what we're trying to deal with? See that?
Instability, you see.
If that was the players in a players' meeting, that's a few quid.
That wouldn't happen at Manchester United or Manchester City because they're scared.
Anyway, lost my train of thought. It couldn't have been that.
No, it wasn't that good. I'll pass
Thank
the
you.
phone on.
Thank
Right.
you.
Afternoon, Sean. You mentioned there about Danny being a sort of in the mix for this weekend. Is he, as far as you're concerned, sort of fit and ready to go in and play 90 minutes if required?
Well, I think he's getting to as close as you can get, because we all know there's nothing like the real thing. But, you get players to a level. They get themselves to a level, of course, by taking on the work. And I think his sharpness is improving. His training levels have improved. And I think he's feeling better. And a number here, I think, are getting more game ready, have been in and out for one reason or another. And he'll be in the thinking, as I said.
I guess the dilemma you're faced with is you could move Danny in and it's one change for Westwood, or you bring in Hendrick inside and you suddenly move in perhaps 2 or 3 positions if you bring a Robbie Brady in, for example.
Well, I mean, they're the dilemmas you actually end up wanting. We were in a stage this early into a season last season where we didn't always have that. We were stretched as I've been here as a manager with choices, because we had so many injuries. Now we've got approaching a fully fit squad. Obviously, we've still got Johan, who's a bit more long term, but making good progress. Vids is back fit. So, you want them dilemmas, you want them challenges, to make sure you've got available options, whether it's starting or off the bench, because we believe in everyone here, everyone plays their part.
Is Johan a couple of weeks, month before Christmas?
Yeah, we'll see, but he's back on the grass, he's working with the physios, which is a good sign. He's not with us yet, but he's building up his background running's good. The end, really, the pace part of it, when you're really working for that real power and sharpness. So that's the final bit to come.
Obviously, on Danny, he's obviously on loan until early January. Are you sort of where you want to be in terms of your own decision as to what may or may not happen in January, or can he influence that now?
No, we haven't really seen him. So we of course we know him anyway, but we know what he does in training. We've seen that, but it's the games. That's where everyone gets judged on the games. So I think he's just part of that thinking. So, no, I think it's too early to worry about that. We want to see him fit first, get on the pitch at some point, and then take it from there.
There's an element, I guess, then of him sort of playing to impress you to suggest that he might need another?
No, not really. I think there's an element of him getting himself back on track. You know, I've spoken about the bigger picture to him, because he's desperate to play, working hard, trying to get back fit, an incident that can happen and then you've got to recover from that. So, but it's the bigger picture. We're not going to push someone who's not quite there. We're not going to force anything upon them. I wouldn't with any player here, whether they're on loan or one of my players, who's under contract here. So I think it's a case of appropriate timing, when he's ready, when he's to push, and of course, displacing someone else, because we like the midfield players we've got. He knows it's a challenge. He knew it when he came here.
Westy, obviously, tremendous season last year, double Player of the Award winner, I think. How important is he to the way you like to play, your team likes to play?
He's enjoying his football. I think he's taken on the challenge. He's built his confidence from passing forward more and putting the ball at risk more, and I think he's got rewards with that, by threatening positions and threatening through his passing range, because he has got a very good passing range, and he's never short of doing the work. And whatever way you look at it, the work still has to be done. In the Premier League, as much as anywhere, we know the stats, we know the figures of the physicality of the Premier League, so you've got to be ready to work, and he certainly is.
I think he's given it dishing out contracts like confetti here at the moment. I think he's one that's out in the summer with it.
I've got to be honest, he's dishing out contracts like confetti at Burnley Football Club. If only it was that easy.
Relatively speaking.
If only it was that easy, trust me. Yeah, oh wow. You don't even imagine what it's like.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah, it's great fun. Marvellous fun trying to get money out of this club.
3 weeks is probably as many contracts has been dished out in that time frame before.
Well, it's fair to say that there's a combination of ongoing discussions. It's not a case of, they're all going at the same time, or the discussions are, but sometimes it just comes together at the same time. That's just an anomaly rather than by design.
Thank you.